I grew up in a quiet, rural town that bordered an expansive, dense forest. From as far back as I could remember, my parents always warned me about the woods, especially after dark. Stay away, they'd say, their faces somber as they repeated the same stories that had been passed down for generations. Tales of strange cries in the night, of people who ventured too far in and never returned. They called it the crying forest. I never believed those legends. How could I? I was a kid, and the forest had always seemed like a harmless backdrop to my everyday life. Sure, the trees were thick and dark, but in the daylight, they were just trees. I'd often play near the edge of the woods, kicking around leaves, imagining I was a great adventurer. But I always stayed within sight of home. I never felt the need to go deeper. Not really. Not until the night everything changed. It was late summer, the air still warm, but tinged with the first hints of autumn. I'd been hanging out with some friends at a house about a mile away, and by the time I left, the sun was already setting. Normally, I'd stick to the main road to get home, but it was getting dark quickly, and I was already late. So, I made a decision I've regretted ever since. I decided to take a shortcut through the forest. It wasn't the first time I'd done it. The path wasn't exactly well-traveled, but I knew it well enough. 10 minutes, and I'd be home. No big deal. As I stepped into the tree line, the last rays of the sun faded, leaving the sky a deep purple. The dense canopy overhead made the fading light seem even darker. The forest around me was quiet, too quiet. No birds, no rustling leaves, just the sound of my own footsteps crunching over twigs and dried leaves. I'd been walking for only a few minutes when I heard it, a faint, distant sound almost like a child crying. I stopped, straining my ears. The sound was faint, barely audible, but unmistakable. It was a child's cry, a soft, pleading whimper like someone was lost. I should have ignored it. I should have turned around right then and there. But I didn't. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe it was some misplaced sense of responsibility, but I found myself following the sound. "Hello!" I called out, my voice sounding small in the vastness of the woods. "Are you okay? Where are you?" There was no answer, just more crying. The sound seemed to be coming from deeper in the forest, off the path. I hesitated, glancing back in the direction of home. I could still turn back, still make it home before it got too dark. But the crying, it tugged at something inside me. I stepped off the path. The further I walked, the more the air seemed to change. It was colder here, the shadows longer and darker, the trees pressing in on all sides. The crying grew louder, more insistent, but as I moved closer, something felt wrong. The cries were coming from all directions now, echoing through the trees, bouncing off the trunks like a twisted game of hide and seek. "Where are you?" I called again, my voice a little shakier this time. "I can't see you. Keep calling. I'll find you." But the cries didn't help. They seemed to shift, moving from one side of me to the other, behind me, in front of me, surrounding me. My heart was pounding now, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone, that something was watching me. I stopped walking, turning in circles, trying to pinpoint the sound. That's when I realized I was lost. The path was gone. I hadn't been walking for long, but somehow I was completely disoriented. The trees all looked the same, towering and thick, their branches clawing at the darkening sky. The cries suddenly stopped. The silence that followed was deafening, the kind of quiet that presses down on you, thick and heavy. I felt a chill run down my spine, and that's when the real fear set in. Something wasn't right. I wasn't alone. I turned in the direction I thought I'd come from and started walking faster now. My footsteps seemed too loud, echoing in the unnatural stillness. I kept glancing over my shoulder, convinced that someone was following me just out of sight. And then I heard it again, the crying. But this time it was different. It wasn't the distant, pleading whimper I'd heard before. This was closer, too close. And it wasn't just one voice anymore. There were others, dozens of them, crying, whispering, calling my name. My blood ran cold. I broke into a run. Branches whipped against my face as I sprinted through the trees, my breath coming in ragged gasps. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to get away. The voices were louder now, surrounding me, closing in. Some were crying, others whispering unintelligible words, but they all had one thing in common. They sounded wrong. Not human. The trees seemed to blur around me as I ran, my heart hammering in my chest. Every time I glanced behind me, I half expected to see something, someone chasing me. But there was nothing, just the trees and the cries that followed me like a shadow. I don't know how long I ran. Minutes? Hours? Time seemed to lose meaning. All I knew was that I couldn't stop. Not until I was out of the forest. Not until I was safe. But then, out of nowhere, the ground beneath me disappeared. My foot caught on something, a root, maybe, and I went sprawling forward, crashing hard into the forest floor. Pain shot up my leg, and I gasped, clutching my ankle. For a moment, I just lay there, breathing heavily, trying to gather my thoughts. But the voices, they were still there, still getting closer. And now there was something else. Footsteps. I scrambled to my feet, wincing at the sharp pain in my ankle. I couldn't run anymore, not like this. But I had to move. I had to get out. Limping, I stumbled forward, pushing through the thick underbrush. The footsteps were behind me now, steady and deliberate, as if whoever, or whatever, was following me wasn't in any hurry. They knew I couldn't get away. I didn't dare look back. I couldn't. Just when I thought I couldn't go any further, when my body was ready to give out, I saw it. A break in the trees, a sliver of light. The edge of the forest. Safety. I pushed myself forward, my lungs burning, my vision blurring with exhaustion. The footsteps were right behind me now, so close I could feel the presence of something breathing down my neck. With one final burst of energy, I broke through the tree line and collapsed onto the open ground. The cool night air hit my face, and for a moment I just lay there, gasping for breath, my heart pounding in my chest. But the voices, they stopped. I glanced back toward the forest, expecting to see something lurking in the shadows. But there was nothing, just the trees, standing tall and silent, as if they'd never been alive with those twisted, otherworldly cries. I dragged myself to my feet and limped the rest of the way home, my mind racing, trying to make sense of what had just happened. But deep down, I knew. Those cries, those footsteps, they weren't human, and they didn't belong in this world. When I finally reached my house, I collapsed on the porch, my entire body trembling with fear and exhaustion. My parents found me there hours later, my clothes torn, my face scratched, but I couldn't tell them what had happened. I didn't want to believe it myself. The next day, I went back to the edge of the forest. I stood there, staring into the trees, trying to summon the courage to go back in. But I couldn't. I never could. That place, it wasn't just a forest. It was something else, something that didn't want to be found. And I knew, deep down, that if I ever went back in, I wouldn't come out. Not again.